Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone is doing well. Today I have 4 Reddit stories for you guys. All credit goes to the original posters of these stories, and I will link them in my description. The Curious Tale of Richie Fernstenfeld. When Richie was a child, he went to a circus in Kansas. He didn't like clowns, but he loved magicians, and was excited for the circus because the local magician, Majestic Matthews Act. Richie's parents got the supposed best seats in the house of the circus. The first act was the acrobats, who flew through the air. Richie was amazed, and thought it looked animated because of the smoothness of their movement. The second act was the tightrope walker, who walked across a tightrope with 3 people bouncing it up and down. The third act was a lion tamer, who put his head between the jaws of an angry tiger. Richie couldn't believe how brave he was. The fourth act was the clowns. Oh, great, Richie thought to himself. He felt as if one of the clowns was staring at him and laughing at him. He hated the sound of the clown's psychotic laughing. While all the clowns were doing comedy acts, he couldn't stop staring at that one clown who wouldn't stop staring at him. He just stood there, staring, slightly, chuckling to himself. Richie covered his eyes until the act was over, and then finally, it was time for Majestic Matthews' act. But something was wrong. As he was doing his act, he kept looking at Richie with the same haunting stare the clown gave him. Then it happened. Richie, the magician, mouthed. "Where are you, little Richie?" he mouthed again. "Can we please go?" Richie asked his big brother. "Yeah, is something wrong, little Richie?" Richie's brother replied. Richie's brother never called him that. He usually just called him little bro or something. "Little Richie, what's wrong?" Richie's brother said, following a giggle. Then it seemed like everyone and everything started to crash. And then it had this weird glitch effect, like it was a computer. Richie ran away. Before everyone in the theater seemed to look at him, he ran out of the circus, and everything looked like it was a computer about to crash. The wind blew, making a sound that almost sounded like, "Where are you going, little Richie?" Richie kept running and ran into Majestic Matthew, who almost seemed emotionless as he said with a blank expression and a modulationless voice, "What's wrong, Richie?" he said, following a slow transition from a blank expression to a smile. Richie was never seen again, and his family denies everything claimed in the report, including the fact that they ever did go to the circus. Investigation followed a search for the circus, and the sheriff thought he had brought his family too. It didn't exist. Every piece of evidence that the circus and the performers ever existed no longer existed. We don't know what happened to Richie, but most assume he met a dark fate. Very strange encounter on Mount Shasta. I've recently moved to Weed, California, small town next to Mount Shasta, for work. I'm an avid hiker and love exploring, so naturally 2 days ago I decided to go hike the mountain on one of my days off. Not entirely sure why, but I decided to drive my car very deep into the forest surrounding the base of the mountain, as far as the dirt road would allow me. It was 3 p.m. with a clear sky, so I was very confident and enjoying the scenery as I got out of my car and started my hike, heading closer to the mountain. At first, it was your regular, everyday hike. Lots of birds and squirrels around. The smell of nature that fills your lungs as you walk across the terrain. It wasn't until I reached a small dried-up river that I noticed something was off. As I stopped to look at the dried-up river and take pictures, I noticed that it was strangely very, very quiet. No birds chirping, no signs of squirrels, no other animals, and even the sound of the wind you hear when you're on a mountain seemed to be completely gone. At that time, I thought it was just an odd coincidence and started walking up alongside the river. But as I kept walking and being able to only hear my own footsteps, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Not the kind of feeling that makes you think someone is outside your window watching you. The kind of feeling that makes you feel multiple people or things are observing your every movement, studying you. I've never had that kind of feeling in my life, but what happened after made me completely forget about that feeling. I suddenly started to hear something out of nowhere that sounded like angelic humming or maybe a song with no lyrics. But it also sounded strangely electric, like the sound telephone lines make. It wasn't very loud, but enough to make me look in the direction it was coming from. I looked to the other side of the dried-up river that had multiple trees and other foliage to see someone or something looking straight at me. It almost looked like a ghost, with it looking completely white, but this thing was very clearly there. It almost looked like it was wearing a robe, but I couldn't see any feet, hands, or even a face. Although it had an oval head, however, I could feel it looking straight at me, almost as if it was trying to remember my every detail. Even from far away, I could tell that its entire body had a very weird texture, almost like porcelain, but if porcelain was a silky fabric, it was very obviously not human. I was very understandably in complete shock and terror, frozen in a place, kind of scared. We both looked at each other for what felt like forever, but it was most likely around 20 to 30 seconds. I very, very slowly started walking backwards. I don't think I took more than 2 steps when it tilted its head, as if it was curious or even surprised at what I was doing. All the while, I could still hear that electric, angelic humming, and I swear it got a little louder when I took those steps back. When I turned my head to look behind me to make sure the way was clear so I could run, the song suddenly stopped, abruptly without warning. This shocked me, and when I turned back to look at the thing, it was gone. No sign of it anywhere. As soon as I saw that it disappeared, I ran as fast as I could, following the path I took back. Even after it disappeared, and while I was running, I could still feel like I was being watched from all sides. I almost tripped a few times in how fast I was going. When I got to my car, sounds of animals and the mountain wind suddenly came back, but I was still scared out of my mind and drove as fast as I could away from the mountain. I've never had anything paranormal happen to me in the past, and I've honestly always been very skeptical of stuff like that, but this experience has left me questioning a lot of things. I don't think I want to go back on that mountain. I've even had a nightmare about the experience. I'm not even sure what I saw or what to call it. I Need Answers might have ran into something weird in the Sierra Nevadas. So me and my girlfriend decided to go spend the night far out in the Sierras. I'd only camped at that spot 2 times before, but I grew up hunting and fishing all through the Ice House area. I've spent a lot of time deep in the high Sierras, and I've never ran into anything supernatural or out of the ordinary. I've seen and heard plenty of bears, mountain lions, coyotes, and other animals. But the other night, me and my girlfriend were laying down watching a downloaded movie on the laptop when we heard a mountain lion scream, female mating call. And I think, no biggie, I'll scare it away. I also carry a 9mm. It's midnight, and I take the flashlight out and start yelling and getting big to scare it off. It returns with more screams and a growl. I eventually get my light on it and completely froze. I mean dead still, not a single movement. I shot the tree next to it from about 40 feet away to try and scare it off, and nothing. It didn't budge, so I had my girlfriend unlock the car and get in. But we couldn't find the keys at that point. I moved the flashlight to help her find the keys. I heard it scream again, this time within 25 feet. I shot another round off, and it just screamed and got closer. We find the keys and hop in the car. But my wallet and phone were both in the tent, so after gathering some balls to get them, I hop out and slowly walk backwards towards the tent. As soon as I get in the tent, it screams again, and I yell back at it, and it just screams again, this time much closer. So I get back in the car. As soon as I got in the car, the mountain lion went quiet. Not a peep after that. The other thing to note is the bugs didn't go quiet. There were also deer up on the ridge behind us that were unaffected by the gunshots. Not only that, but a mountain lion that seemed to be healthy was unafraid of gunshots. In all my life, I've never ran into an animal that I had to scare away, not run from. The sound of a gun. It was super unsettling, so we spent the night in a parking lot in my car. If anyone could clue me in or give me something to work with, I'm at a loss. I thought I might as well run this across some other fellow outdoorsman before I ditch a conclusion. I'm an EMT, and my last patient wasn't human. It was a dark, cold, and foggy night. There wasn't many action, so my coworker and I were sitting in the ambulance waiting for a call. Our shift was almost over. He looked at me, and with a tired voice, he said, "We're almost done with this. Let's hope we don't have any calls. It's been kind of quiet." Oh my God, you really said the Q word? What quiet? Come on, that so-called curse isn't true. You actually believe in that? Suddenly, the radio turned on and started to tell us all we needed to know to get the victim. They said that we were responding to a heart attack, that the victim called and collapsed right after telling its address. Isn't true, is it? This is just a coincidence. Don't believe in those things, come on. We sped through the empty streets. The only noise that we could hear was our engine and the sirens. We came to a stop in front of the victim's house. We came in through the unlocked front door, and right in front of us was our caller. I quickly checked his pulse, but it was fast, really fast. I opened his eyes, and I noticed that they weren't responding to light correctly, but their color, it changed from a light blue to a dark brown in a span of a few seconds. I didn't know what to do. I checked behind me to see if my coworker was still behind me, but I couldn't believe what I saw. He was impaled by large wooden sticks, one through the mouth and another through the chest. I quickly call out for him, but I obviously get no answer. I hear a noise coming from behind, so I turn around and I see nothing, literally nothing. It was like staring directly into the vacuum of space. I turned back once again looking for the exit, but there was nothing there either. Where did everything go? From the distance, I see two eyes staring at me, but when I looked at them, I felt weird. It was like those eyes told me that what I was looking at didn't have a soul. They suddenly changed colors, again from a light blue to a dark color that I couldn't see from here. So I called out for it. Hello? Is there someone or something else here? No response. Suddenly the eyes reaper, but white. And they were getting closer. I couldn't move, scream for help. So I accepted my faith. But suddenly I felt something grab my arm and yank me out of the house. I looked at the man, and his face seemed familiar, but I couldn't recognize who it was. I looked at the door and see my coworker's feet being dragged back into the house, leaving a trail of blood on the front porch. The man that saved me gets on his knees and tells me about what that was. I didn't pay attention to him. I simply replied, "It killed the man. It killed him, the man with a calm but manly voice says. "Yeah, and you would be dead too if it wasn't for me." The man puts on a hat and walks away. He was kind of weird. I decide to leave, but as I look at the window and see my coworker alive and without a single scratch, I sped to the station and quit on the spot. I'm now studying to be a nurse, but my coworker appeared in class today and sat next to me. I don't know how much time I have left before that thing finally finishes the job. That's why I'm writing this. It shapeshifts. Don't trust anyone or anything. Thank you for listening. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing and liking to my channel, and I will see you on the next one.